Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristin.
This is So I'm Watching a Desperate Housewives, Season 1, Episode 8.
Guilty.
The Bible or something? I don't know.
There is a widely read book that tells us everyone is a sinner.
Guilty.
Of course, not everyone who reads this book feels guilt over the bad things they do.
That old standard.
The Bible
or something. I mean, that was the theme of the episode, kind of.
Or something.
I remember this one pretty vividly.
Yeah.
I was not a 30, 40-something housewife in the 90s and 2000s, so I cannot say this with
Nor are you still.
full confidence. But Lynette's scene with the girls at the soccer field, I feel like that was in the air around this time.
Sure.
We were coming out of
We weren't talking about it so much as we are now.
But I remember this being, when they did it, I remember people talking about the scene and that episode, because that was part of what this show's thesis statement was, and what it excelled at is the quiet moments in between and the things that we don't, the secrets that we keep and all of that. And feeling inadequate as a mother is something that many women feel, but it is frowned upon because the patriarchy needs it to be. You mentioned that.
No, I did. Yeah. It serves the patriarchy for women to keep their struggles silent, because once you realize you all have the same problem, you can figure out how to fight against it. And when you realize it's the men, they don't want that. So
it's okay to be a human woman.
No, it's not. It's the worst because of
society, capitalism, patriarchy.
Well, in the show Spartacus, like, I remember Alithia had the line where she said to Lucretia said something vulgar, and she was like, and here I thought I was in the presence of a proper Roman woman. And Lucretia just says,
proper is a word forged by men who would seek to enslave us with it.
Like,
it's why I love, even though it makes me like furious, I love watching the TikToks of people like on, just talking about like how their husbands are really shitty and they don't take care of their kids. And it's like, did you see the like hostage video that Casey and Ron DeSantis put out? It is horrifying. She's like, she had cancer. She did. I think she's in remission, but she was like, and he was picking up my kids when I couldn't do it. And he's just like, that's how you know he's a good man. And I was like, he was caring for his own children. That's not about, he was doing the bare minimum while you were fighting cancer. Why are you so brainwashed? Why are you the one who's brainwashed in this situation? It's disgusting. Moving on.
Well, I was going to say, I had things I wanted to touch on, but I wasn't going to, in that theme, but I wasn't going to start with Brie. I was going to start with Lynette.
It suits the Lynette story. Because Tom is also not there.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's away on business, which is whatever. And then they like moved a meeting, so he like couldn't make it home when he said he was going to. Which is it's not his fault. But like Lynette is very clearly struggling. The kids are touching the stereo. I was not allowed to touch the stereo. And I was a good kid. I was not even like a terror like these shits are. Ridiculous.
Yeah, she's still bottoming out. She's still having her substance issues with her kid's ADD medication that she speaks pretty freely about. That's a little bit refreshing. It's interesting. Well, so that's what I was gonna say. I was at a fork in the road with talking points, but it's something that I really do find fascinating and I do appreciate about 2000s media.
Yeah.
Is we've recently gone through a little bit of a reckoning with culturally, socially, with what we say and how the things we say affect, those around us and stuff. And I find it interesting because I think coming out of, we made a lot of progress in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I think the 90s were kind of a superficial, predominantly white victory lap where everyone was like, the world's great. We've fixed all the problems. Yeah. And then the 2000s. So you start unpacking, like you see a lot of of good, like the scene with the three of them,
Yeah.
the scene with Terry Hatcher and Felicity Huffman and Marcia Cross at the soccer field. It's like we start taking care of our mental health and our emotions and stuff. But it is very funny to go back, especially 20 years later, and revisit it with the juxtaposition of how utterly callous
Yeah.
everything was around that time. And, I think especially
There's
when
also
it comes
a lot of
to
callousness in the show.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I think especially when it comes to things like sexism, racism, homophobia, I think that because we finally started to say those words,
Yeah.
we were like, they're fixed. What are people complaining about? And
But it was like you said, very superficial.
Mhm. So it is one of the reasons why I do enjoy, and especially it is very personal to me and to us because we came of age in that time. So it's introspective for us to go back and be like, oh, interesting. That's why I'm this way.
Yeah.
So
Well, I saw one the other day that was like, I don't remember her name, Lori something, the bigger girl from All That. And like
Lori Beth
Nickelodeon.
Denberg.
Yeah. And there was
she was so funny.
She was so funny, and there was just
And smart,
just like a gif of her from doing like the little news that
Mm-hmm.
she would do on Nickelodeon, and she was like, something. I want to kill myself, but I'm on suicide watch.
Nickelodeon has me
And
on
it was
suicide
just
watch.
like,
Anyways,
this is
here's
why
Rugrats.
this is why I am the way I am as like a human person, because I was watching that when I was like 9. This just informs so much about my sense of humor.
So the bulk of Lynette's story is that she's bottoming out, and the culmination of this arc is that she does confess to her friends, not her husband.
I love my kids so much. I'm so sorry they have me as a mother.
Lynette, you're a great mother.
No, I'm not. I'm so tired of feeling like a failure. It's so humiliating.
No, it's not. You got 4 kids. That's a lot of stress, honey. You just need some help.
It'll
he's
come.
out of town.
Yeah, no, I mean that is the Desperate Housewives.
Yeah.
That is where the show soars.
I do also love that she confesses to the acupuncturist.
Look, I'm on my last nerve, so I'm gonna level with you here. I've screwed up my entire system by taking my kid's ADD medication. I plan to stop, but right now I need to sleep, so what do you got?
This'll put you right to sleep. It's a very powerful herbal remedy.
But then she gives her these herbs, and she's like, I trust you'll use this with discretion. And I'm like,
Judiciously.
she just talked about taking illicit prescription medication. She's obviously not going to use it judiciously.
Not for nothing. I love Lynette, but given the information the show presented us with, she is also, I think, the root of some of her problems.
Sure.
Because she takes all of the weird mushrooms and prepares for a long winter's nap on the couch midday.
Yeah. And she's also forgotten a scout meeting. Like, I don't know.
Some of it is a TV show.
Well,
like,
no,
some of it
for sure. And also, like, the implication we received at the beginning of the show is that it's like we only started, getting in touch with these women, like, at the moment that Lynette was like, I've had enough of this, and you need to listen to me now. So it's like, for the last 6 years, since she had whichever kid is the oldest.
Well, the Penny is the baby.
Yeah. No, but I mean, for however long, she has not been standing
The
up
oldest.
for herself
Gotcha.
with Tom. And so she
Well, she was trying to make it work because she felt like
and everybody else could do it.
Yeah, it was her duty. Is the word.
I actually love that Bree is the one who was like,
Other moms don't need help. All I do is complain.
That's just not true. I used to get so upset when Andrew and Danielle were little. I used their nap times to cry.
she was like, why didn't you tell me this? Like,
We should tell each other this stuff.
It helps, huh?
Yeah.
especially coming on the heels of the last episode where she got compared to Bree twice, once by Tom and once by herself. Hearing Bree be like, no, it's awful. Like, I was definitely struggling. And she has twice as many kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all terrible. Penny's whatever, but they're all terrible.
You're my children, and I love you, but you're all terrible.
Susan, well, actually, Gabby's story, nothing much really happens other than John is on his way out. He's not interested.
You and I are finished. From now on, I'm sticking with Danielle.
And he told the priest.
He confesses, yeah.
You didn't do anything wrong.
So Father Crowley thinks.
What?
I went to confession.
Have you lost your mind?
Which, just another reason to not be sleeping with children.
Well,
because they're going to go to confession and confess because they still believe in things.
Yeah, well, I also just, like, I don't know, like, even in the unlikely event that I were to have an affair, I wouldn't feel religiously guilty about it. So, like, it's just a whole other level to put on yourself that's, like, just not necessary, like, at all.
And so not a lot comes from Gabby's story. She does also sort of confess to the priest.
Yeah.
So what happens if I repent later? Like, say, when I'm 75?
I wouldn't recommend waiting. What if you die before then?
Well, let's say I don't die. If I wait, does my repenting still count?
If you mean it, yes.
Thank you, Father Crowley. You have been a tremendous comfort.
And we determined that she does, in fact, have a moral compass, and it does work.
Yeah.
She's just not planning on using it anytime soon.
Well, I also really kind of chafed at the moment where he was like, don't you want to be a good person? And she said,
what I want is to be happy.
That's the answer of a selfish child.
I know.
That's
for
answer.
Children.
That's for children. And I was like, the fuck it is. Like,
who said that to her?
The priest.
Yeah, that was weird.
And I'm just like, two things can be true. You can be happy and a good person. You just have to make better choices.
But the episode did end on a, I think, somewhat, crucial note where she was with Carlos as he was tending to his mother.
Yeah, he was like helping, or she was helping.
And it's moments like that. It's necessary, but because it shows us that their relationship is not.
It's not devoid of feeling.
Yeah, they could be each other's best friend and worst enemy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Susan finds Mike's money and gun.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think is interesting. Okay. The thing I think is interesting is the show also treats the money like the weirdest part.
And then I opened the cabinet and there was all this money in it. I mean, there was wads of it.
That's why you're freaking out? A few stacks of cash? Come on.
Well, what? Realistically, I've known this guy a few weeks. I mean, he could be a hitman for the mob.
Because he is a single man, like a man, in the brownest house.
I don't know why, but overall, it just smells like the color brown.
A kitchen, a pantry is not shocking that he would have a tasteful gun.
No, I
a single tasteful pistol.
I'm not as weirded out by the gun as I am by the money, but also like keeping them just together unsecured in your pantry where like obviously he's not like having people over, but Susan has been in his house multiple times.
I mean, Edie was in that cabinet and didn't clock it.
And that's just kind of the thing where I'm like, I would be like, at least put it in the bedroom closet. Like, why is it in the downstairs kitchen pantry? Like,
well, we had 3 guns in the kitchen growing up. You were just looking at me.
At first I thought you meant in the show, and then you said growing up, and I was like, oh right. But I never saw them.
Well, there was the big one hanging from next to the door that everybody was very preoccupied by.
I have no memory of that.
It was like a pellet gun. It was like a BB gun.
Oh, okay.
But they left it hanging there. Everybody commented on it. I swear to God, if you saw a picture, you'd like,
I'm sure I would. I don't.
They were right next to the Bush Cheney stickers. I was raised Christian and conservative. I am not. And actually, it's kind of noteworthy my family's not either.
Yeah.
My point is I was raised with guns, with the concept. And so there was one in the cabinet over the refrigerator.
Oh, okay. But like not in the pantry at easy reach of children.
Not easy reach.
Yeah.
Because then the other one was in the cabinet above the washing
I'm just saying.
With the trash bags.
He's engaged in something shady. He shouldn't be leaving shady evidence just lying around in the pantry. That's suspicious.
So she takes it out. She touches the gun. I mean, she does carry it like this.
She takes it all out. She touches the gun, and then she just counts all of the money. That bitch, that's not your business. Put it back. And then the tile guy comes back around because he forgot to leave a receipt. And instead of just sitting there.
The thing for me, both, like when I watched it then and even now, I was like, the tile guy is not the tile guy. This is part of whatever he's doing. And you're in, like, I thought the guy was coming back to do whatever it was he was meant to do.
Oh.
And both times I was like, oh no, the tile guy is the tile guy.
Because he's like redoing his bathroom, but she shoves it all into her shirt and then carries it upstairs and then freaks out super hard and dumps it all into the sink. I don't get it. And then she falls through the floor.
Well, my favorite,
like we're in a Marx Brothers movie.
I forgot about that part. And she's like in the bathroom in the window. And I'm like, she's going to fall through this fucking window. And I say
and
that.
You're like, oh no.
And our watch along.
Yeah. $3 tier. Patreon.com/watching this show. And you were like, well, at least she didn't fall through the window. And I said, scene's not fucking over.
And she... Whoomp. and it's stuck there for hours.
There's no way. You can get up you can get down or you can get up. There's no way that she held herself up there for hours but couldn't get out.
I mean, I'm sure it's possible, but and again, it's why we like Mike, is because he comes home to half of her.
Susan, is that you?
Mike, come upstairs, sorta.
And he's mostly just sort of delighted.
Yeah.
Like, he's mostly just sort of like, ha, ha, ha.
Hang on, I'll be right up. What happened?
Well,
Oh, Susan. But then the invasion of privacy and violation of trust, yada, yada.
Through my cabinets.
what? Oh, I can explain that.
Get out of my house.
Mike.
So he's good and mad at her, and rightfully so. And again, like, it's so weird to me that, because of course I remember the Susan, falling off the Leaning Tower of Pisa to her, I remember all that stuff.
I'm a mess.
But to be fair, that's part of your charm.
But it's funny to me that my takeaway here is that she's actually trying.
Yeah.
And the communication, the way that she comes over and is like,
What?
I just came over to say I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it.
Well, so, in your mind, is the date off?
Yeah.
and I'm like, she's actually handling this maturely, considering how immature
It started.
she is.
Yeah. Well, she also was like, I came over to say I'm sorry, and also like you're just not giving me anything to work with. Like that, I'm sorry that I found these things. And she does say, she was like, I found them by accident. Mm-hmm. And like, I am sorry, but like, you're not giving me anything to work with. And this is super weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
There's this whole part of your life that you keep completely walled off.
I'm a good guy, Susan, and you should know that.
and you are being weird. And so he is not acting totally right either.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not obligated to share every little detail of my life
Well,
with
every
you.
little detail is one thing. Weird, creepy secrets, that's another.
You know what? I don't want to be with somebody who doesn't trust me.
Well, maybe we shouldn't be dating.
Maybe we shouldn't.
So, well, I was going to say Edie narrowly avoided
death.
Is she going to suffer?
No. Edie Britt will disappear and you'll go back to your life. I want to be clear about something. We won't talk again, so I'll ask one more time. Are you sure you want this?
My wife is dead because of Edie Britt. I absolutely want this.
It happens a few times. Yeah. That's another thing that I love about... I mean, I remember loving Edie the first time around, but I do sort of love how oblivious she is to so many of the things going on.
Yeah.
In a way that a lot of times that can be used to signal that a character is, like, dumb or naive, or in a lot of ways it's used to signify like derpy.
Yeah.
And I like that Edie is savvy, like savvily oblivious.
Well, she's savvy in the situations you think she's going to be savvy in, but then when like there's actually something going on, she's sort of...
You just know she has stories. Like, so many stories of her just waltzing through.
Yeah.
Just waltzing through perilous situations.
Nice stationery.
Oh, it's stolen.
What do you mean?
After my house burned down, I was staying with this neighbor, Martha Huber. Anyway, I'd steal her stuff, she'd steal mine. It's the circle of life.
And so we determined that you were correct. It was Martha Huber's stationery.
So this paper is hers?
Oh, God, yes.
What I was getting at in the previous episode when I was like, I don't feel like that's right, is because I was remembering Martha Huber is the one who discovers Mary Alice's dead. And so it's like, that's not compatible, but they do. It is. They make it compatible.
Well, she was just trying to blackmail her for money, right? Yeah.
It feels incorrect that Martha Huber is in 8 episodes of the show.
Yeah, I am a little shocked.
She's the type of character that can wear on your tolerance, your patience.
She's sort of
but
actually...
she's so iconic.
She's like for me, she's like a Stephen King villain.
I like her more.
Well...
I like Martha Huber. I remember the name. I remember the performance.
She's so
Christine embodies it.
Yeah, but she's so convinced of her own rightness. And I hate characters that are so convinced of their own rightness, even though everybody is telling them they're wrong, but they will not relent. It was why I finished it. I white knuckled it. It was like Under the Dome was one of the worst reading experiences of my life.
I think Christine, was just so
amazing.
fully formed.
What are you doing? I am taking back the $40 that you stole out of my purse.
Edie?
We both know you did it. Now hand it over.
I have taken nothing from your purse.
A few moments later.
And because I would compare her to, I think she has sort of like kind of a spiritual cousin in the character of Barb from Cougar Town.
Welcome to the time machine, ladies. Which of the many fine doctors here are you seeing?
Dr. Evans. You?
The other 12. See you in 2 days when I emerge from my chrysalis.
Sure.
They're slightly different, but yeah, I do like characters like that. And like I said, it's insane to me. And it's not insane to me that she dies or is even murdered, but it's insane to me that it comes so early.
I do, though, love that she was killed by the blender that she stole from Mary Alice.
But rest assured, I'm praying for Mary Alice. After what she did, she'll need all of our prayers.
Which, by the way, Paul, you're really racking up suspicious deaths in your wake.
It is a little hard to believe this is the first, or that like the events of this show is the first.
Yeah.
So he killed her.
He's wrapping her up in a
carpet in a rug. And then Bree's story is very interesting.
Yeah, Andrew is a sociopath.
Because like I said, I remembered that they go at it.
Yeah.
Like a whole lot and all over. It is prolonged. Like I said, as I recall, I don't know how much we're gonna watch. I was remembering some things, and I think they start in like season 2.
Yeah. That
I don't think you'll have tolerance for.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is one of the shows that we're only going to get through the first season, or if we're going to get well into it.
2, yeah.
But Bree and Andrew do end up on good terms at some point.
Yeah.
And again, I like him as a character. I think Sean has a pretty good grasp on the character because he's written, like you just said, as like a sociopath.
Yeah.
Like he does not care.
I feel awful for Carlos.
Whatever. I'm off the hook.
He manages to keep him like sympathetic enough.
It's not so much the sympathy as it is like he just has a hand. He just he's playing the character. Like the character's not playing him.
Sure.
And he manages. I don't know. It's a very interesting character, and I'm not sure if this is the point when they were writing it, but it was interesting for me, especially watching it at 18 and now watching it again at 38, where as someone who was raised in a conservative Christian household, which Bree runs, that wouldn't you know, this stuff is not trickling down.
Yeah.
These morals, these lessons, these like fundamentals, these values are not shared by anyone else in this house.
Yeah.
Danielle is not worried.
If Carlos's mother dies, there is no statute of limitations.
Right, because then it's murder.
Shut up!
You shut up.
About. But Bree is.
Yeah.
She is deeply concerned about this. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's a little bit strange.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is.
Is it meant to be that she was prioritizing the appearances, that she was prioritizing all this stuff growing up?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's a nature and nurture conversation at a certain point.
Yeah.
And you would just think somewhere her, and it's not even goodness. I would say Bree is a good person.
She can be a good person. She's not often
She's a moral person, though.
I don't know. I mean, the way that she argues it with Andrew is interesting because she made an immoral choice to not make him confess.
Mm-hmm.
How could it be murder? It was an accident.
We have to get rid of the car. We'll take the car to a bad part of town. We'll leave the keys in the ignition and the doors unlocked. If the police don't find it, we'll get the insurance money. And if they do, it wasn't in our possession. Anyone could have hit Mrs. Solis.
Bree knew what she was about to do was wrong. But like most sinners, she would worry about her guilt tomorrow.
But then she's trying to justify it by having him justify himself, as opposed to her just justifying this choice she made.
It's just that the accident probably stirred up a lot of emotions, and it would be normal for you to be feeling confused or depressed or shamed.
I'm cool. Really.
Honey, you put a woman into a coma. Surely that arouses some kind of emotion.
Yeah, well, it doesn't.
I think you're right about it not trickling down, too, because him being like, well, I am sad that someone got hurt, but also the way he phrases it, though.
I feel bad that she got hurt. But I also feel bad that my car got dinged because somebody didn't have enough sense to look both ways before she crossed the street. And I also feel bad that now I'm gonna have to ride my bike to school.
Like, I'm sad that she got hurt, not like I'm sad I hurt her. He's very divorced.
Well, because she didn't look both ways before crossing the street.
I think that's where Bree's guilt comes from, is she's like, I should have just turned him in. Like, we should have just made him admit it, that it was an accident. But he was drunk too, and so it's like a whole thing, and it is like you said.
Well, and she's at the moment she thinks her goal is preserving her family, and that would be the opposite of that.
Yeah.
But I truly believe that she believes in and wants to do the right thing, and not just because it's what's expected of her.
Sure.
That's not to say that she wouldn't ever take advantage of something, but
This is the most impoverished neighborhood in the city. Trust me, somebody will steal the car.
How can you be so sure?
Because I have faith in the poor.
Good Lord.
I find it interesting how the dire straits that she finds herself in, and how alone she finds herself in those straits.
Well, yeah, because
that not a single other person in that house is concerned with any of.
Definitely not. Especially not after they like get the car stolen. They're just sort of like, it's whatever.
It's interesting. Yeah. We got a nugget that Carlos wants kids, which, I mean, if we know one thing, of course that man wants kids.
Yeah.
But he does sort of announce to
Bree and Rex as well.
We're going for it, and that is news to Gabby.
Yeah.
Gabrielle and I are about to start a family.
Well, when did you decide this?
It's a fairly recent development.
I see.
We'll talk about this later.
And I love her line of,
in case you've forgotten, before we got married, we made a deal.
Yeah, well, deals were meant to be renegotiated.
Well, we're not negotiating my uterus.
Correct.
So it did end with Paul killing Martha, and we were juxtaposing that against Susan and Mike succumbing to their passions. Mercifully,
thank God,
she does not get knocked up.
Oh,
I remember watching this the first time thinking,
pregnant. Yuck.
Martha's going to die.
Yeah.
She's going to conceive.
It's the circle of life.
No. Yeah.
That does not happen. And Yeah, and also maybe Susan needs to learn how to deal with dogs.
What is wrong with you? Lassie would have had a fire truck here by now. You stupid dog. Good boy, Bongo! Run, go get help!
Yeah, what the hell?
It's not. She's batting 1,000 with Bongo.
Not good with Bongo. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she did good. He brought her a crow, dead crow.
Her story was working for a minute.
If only she hadn't brought the stack of money upstairs and dumped it in the. It's unbelievable.
So, all right. Well, on that note, we're gonna go, and we will be back later when we want to.
Feel like it. Bye.
Bye.